Welcome to All India Retail Group. My name is Ashrith. I'm the host of your favorite podcast, Tales of Retail. Friends, every month we interview successful retail personalities and successful entrepreneurs to learn about their startup journey. All India Retail Group is India's largest professional organization containing retail professionals from across the country. It's a self-help group where we help each other out with knowledge sharing and other aspects, and it's an ongoing process. Friends, this week we have with us a very exciting personality, Mr. Shiju Pappen, the founder of the Chatpata Affair. Let's listen to him.
Entrepreneur fails because of two reasons. One, it's a skill-based sector. Is a day sale from the day one. We always believed a 6 months period is the time period that you require to get 100 customers.
This time we have a very special guest. You might know him as the founder of the Chatpata Affair, but here really is an entrepreneur that brings to the table over 2 decades of experience in the hospitality sector. And like we were talking earlier, you have covered pretty much every role and responsibility that's possibly available in the hospitality sector over 20 years. Just to name a few roles that you have done in the past: store operations, new store development, marketing, business development, budgets, franchisee development. There's a whole host of things that you have done in the hospitality sector, and you have chosen to become an entrepreneur just 2 years ago. And it looks like you're far from done. Firstly, it's an honor to have somebody like you on our podcast. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Actually leads me straight to my first question. Hospitality sector, actually, it's a very tough sector. It's a very fragmented sector. It requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of business development. And after having done it all, you saw yourself becoming an entrepreneur. And what made you decide that? If you can sort of talk a little bit of that, what made you become an entrepreneur, firstly?
Like you correctly mentioned, I mean, the part that I am in requires a lot of patience. From 97 to 2000, I have worked for multinational cuisines. So when I was thinking about starting something of my own, when I was thinking about what next after handling close to 5 countries and 350 crores as revenue, the only thing that came to my mind was something Indian. And when we were talking about Indian, the only thing that came to my mind was street food. Now you must be aware that a big brand has recently displaced a giant by the name PepsiCo, and it's none other than an Indian brand by the name Haldiram. Now, it's not, even though it has displaced PepsiCo, it's not even 5% of the entire turnover that a street food can do. So when we were finalizing of the cuisine that we wanted to do, we wanted to do something which is authentic, which has a wider and broader customer base. And you don't hesitate, I mean, having it. It's like an impulsive food. It's a food that you can have one after the other. It's had a big range when it goes from a state to a different state. So that's the reason I picked up Chart. Now, why did I move on from a well-paying job to an entrepreneurial job? I have seen multinational make money. I have been part of the team that actually got revenue in the sector that I am in. So I thought, yes, there is a lot of hard work in the initial part, but once you have developed your brand, it's something that can make you as a brand, as a person satisfied in the longer run of what you are doing. So that's the reason I moved from a job to something of my own.
So with entrepreneurship, one of the words that is really sort of, it goes hand in hand, people say, is fear. So they say a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people make up their mind to start a business, but then somewhere down the line somewhere they find it challenging. They are unable to sort of go past a certain mark. and there's some fear that stops them from sort of jumping onto the entrepreneurship bandwagon, as they say. Did you have any fears in your mind, or or that all those decades of experience, did it sort of get rid of that fear? What were some of the main fears in your mind before you started off?
Being an entrepreneur obviously looks very fancy, but it's very different. Now, the fears, obviously, with my experience, I always started with minimum expectations that kept the bar very low. Anything that came was always a bonus. So we actually planned the venture for around 2 years before starting it. So it was a well thought of process of what needs to be done, how it's to be done. Now, talking about fear, yes, obviously, you as a person who has worked for around 20-22 years always has that fear of what next, what if it fails, what if it not fails. So when you want to succeed in life, you'll have to have always have to have that first step. And that first step was that confidence in me that if you are picking up a cuisine which is more impulsive, the chances of you failing is very less. Now, if you go to any street in India, you will have at least 5 or 6 people selling golgappas or chaat in a range of a kilometer. I mean, in a radius of 500 meters. That gave me the confidence that yes, the chances of you failing is very, very, very less. If your product is good, if you are service oriented, and if you know how to scale. So obviously, there was this fear, a small percentage that over the time of the last 2 years, it has gone down completely. Now we are into scaling our brand. But yes, it has overcome the fear now.
Shiju, tell me a little bit about the Chatpata Affair. Tell me how has the growth been for the last 2 years? And if you can talk to us, some numbers would be great about how many outlets you have. What is it that you have achieved in 2022, and what, according to you, were the key milestones in 2022 that you all set forth to achieve and that you have achieved? In terms of the number of stores, number of outlets, if you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Mentioned, we started thinking about Chatpata Affair in the years 2018. We planned about all the spices. We planned about all the back end that was supposed to do during that period. We launched 2020. Now, from my experience and from anyone who has been into hospitality for this long, he's very clear on the fact that if any person who is a very new entrepreneur fails because of two reasons. One, it's a skill-based sector. I mean, street food is something wherein you have to be dependent upon on your workers. Second, if you are not scaling, you are pretty much occupied inside that restaurant for a very big period of time. So you have to scale, and you have to be less dependent on the people behind you, which is the cook and chef. Now, when we were scaling, we took all these two elements out of the table by keeping the kitchen with us, but giving the entrepreneur who is a franchisee an opportunity to get all these dishes that we are serving in his shop without the chef. So the scaling for him was very easy. He was more focused on the sales and the customer service part. Now, currently, we have 18 outlets. We have started franchising a month back. We have already signed 6 franchises across Bangalore. And we are looking at the southern market first to scale, which is Hyderabad, Chennai, and Bangalore. We have set up a kitchen in Chennai. We are looking at Hyderabad the second quarter of this year. But all together put, we are looking at 100 stores in the next one financial year, which will be 2014 March.
Right.
Now, yeah. So now, why Bangalore? Why not Gurgaon or any other northern part? Because the challenge, the competition is very less in Bangalore. The chart which is served versus what actually chart, the gap is huge. So even if you are 99% of what the actual chart is, people are very happy. I mean, because they are getting something authentic. So we wanted to have that as a big opportunity wherein we can narrow down that gap and serve the crowd like what we have in Bangalore, a very cosmopolitan crowd, the original taste of chaat. So it's been very, very interesting. The last 8 months that we have been in Bangalore, we have opened 8 stores, every month one. In the next 2 months, we are opening 6 more, and we are actually we will be close to 2025 by April 1st. So that's the scale at which we are opening now. We are all set because we have our backend sorted off.
Right.
We are opening in Chennai and next in Hyderabad. So by 2024 March, we are targeting 100 stores.
Right. So it seems like it takes very little time for somebody who's interested to take up a franchisee. It seems like it takes very little time for them to go through the whole cycle, to approach somebody from your team, and then sort of, if you could talk a little bit about the timeline and the process or the steps that are involved for somebody interested to take up a franchisee, because, a lot of our viewers and listeners are somewhere entrepreneurial in nature, they do like to take risks. They do have some retail outlets set up, and this is something that viewers will definitely be interested in. If you could speak a little bit about the sort of the timeline that it takes and the effort, and if you could speak a little bit about that.
Right. So we have two formats in place. One is a cart model. The second is a kiosk. Cart is more a plug and play format, wherein you pick up a cart from our end and place it in a mall and start the next day. And I seriously made their believe the next day means the day you sign, the next day you can start trading. Second is a kiosk, which generally takes all the interior, the signage, the equipments to be placed. So the best that we have done is 20 days. The worst that has happened is 40 days. So in between 20 to 40 days, you can start trading. Now, there's no cooking involved, so there's no backend. So the only thing that a franchisee has to do is get a beautiful location and a beautiful looking store, and he is all good to go. So a max period of 40 days at a location which is very new to 20 days minimum. That's
Right.
what I have experienced in Bangalore. Yes.
Is that one of the key elements in growing at the rate at which you want to grow? Because there are some businesses where it takes a much longer time than what you mentioned to start a franchisee, and that literally means cash flow and revenue coming in from the first month for somebody who takes up a franchisee.
Exactly.
Now, is that one of the things that could be the reason behind like a rapid growth? And what else are some of the reasons that you feel you're able to achieve such growth in the past, and the ambitious targets that you have set for the next fiscal year? Is that one of the reasons? And
Exactly. I also believe when you are building a brand, you can't just call it a Shiju's brand. Anyone who is joining has that opportunity with him to be part of the brand in a bigger way also. I have one of the franchisee who has taken up this initiative to take us or use the Chatpata Affair brand in social in a bigger way. So we have given him the opportunity of doing it. So anyone who is joining us is more a pillar to our logo, our brand. Is not just a franchisee, is adding a lot of value to the brand. So when I am alone, I probably open one store a month. Now that we have 5, 6 people joining hands, they are more the brand ambassadors of the store. And when they are making profit, it comes to me. Like I have people whose brothers are opening, whose fathers are opening, who has people in their team who has suggested, okay, let's open. So it becomes more organic growth than something which is more marketing and more like hollow. So when you have people in the family doing the same business as his son or brother is doing, it becomes a more organic growth. Like it's a subject in their family. Okay, Chatpata Affairs is something ours. So there are people in our team who has taken the entire region for themselves, and they are organically growing it. So that's one factor that I see is very important for any brand to have when you have initial investors that you have with you are very upbeat about your brand. They are more the brand ambassadors of your brand. It helps in a longer this thing. I mean, now it's not just me scouting location and looking for people. Now it's six more people doing the same. So it's now 6 into 5 times the effort. Yeah.
Right, right. That actually also brings me to a point where, sometimes we are talking on the 10th of January. So it's just been 10 days for the new year has started. And
Right.
normally New Year is around the time where people tend to reflect how the year has gone for them, or how the journey has been so far. And people tend to put up targets or goals that they want to achieve. So just one of the most common questions that I'm sure all entrepreneurs face now versus when you started, if we had to draw a comparison, what would you think that some of the things that you've done well, some of the things that have worked for you, some of the perhaps some risks you took which did not work for you. We'll start with things that that perhaps that you think have worked for you, and what you think, if you had to go back and change it now, that let's say Shiju is starting all over, what is that one thing that you would do different now compared to what you did when you started? If you could speak a little bit about that.
All right. So the good thing that happened with us was our expectations were very low. We started with thinking, okay, we'll not do sales for the first month, even though we started doing 2, 3, 4, 5 tickets in the first week, second week, third week. So the motivation never died down. So we were always motivated for the next day. So that's something that always worked in our favor. We never thought, okay, we want to do 10,000 rupees a day sale from the day one. We also always believed a 6 months period is the time period that you require to get 100 customers a day. So our expectations were real. It was not more fancy numbers. Okay, we want to do this the first month, second month, third month, fourth month. Yes, no. Now we did the things at the worst period of time. We started when COVID was at the peak. We started at a place wherein chart is like the thing. I mean, we started in between Haldiram, Bikaner Wala. We started in the period wherein COVID was like, it was hell at that period of time. I mean, it was COVID that was at the peak. So it can't go worse than that. Now, what would have I done better? Yes, looking at Bangalore after 1.5 years of when I started, I would have definitely started from Bangalore rather than Gurgaon, because had I done that in 2020, there would have been two good things that would have. First, the real estate was very, very, very cheap at that point of time. So me investing at 8 location, I would have invested at 16, 20 location if I had started at 2020. And I would have been sitting at 50 odd stores by now. So if you say Shiju starting, I would have definitely started by Bangalore rather than Gurgaon. But yes, Gurgaon would have always been in that game of things. But I would have started from Bangalore. Yes, that would have been the only change that would happen.
Okay, okay. So looks like setting your expectations right is one of the
It's a
advices.
key element. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very key element. Yeah.
Looks like so if we were to ask you what kind of advice you would give to another a budding entrepreneur, another Shiju maybe sitting watching you and thinking that perhaps he can or she can take this entrepreneurial journey. I'm sure like setting expectations right is one of the advice pieces of advice that you would give. What else would you advise a young entrepreneur who's looking to do something in the food space, who's perhaps discovered an idea but is unable to sort of it is hard to execute as well. A lot of people have good ideas, but execution sometimes is not given the credit that it deserves. There are a lot of things that entrepreneurs are thinking right now, or that could stop them. What kind of advice would you give to a youngster in the food business?
Okay. The point that you correctly mentioned, you have to be very patient. I mean, a food that you like, probably I won't like. So there will be n number of reviews that can hurt you. You are working from 8 in the morning to 2 a.m. in the morning. There will be people coming saying your food is not good. Yes, he may be going through a n number of things which made him think that your food is not correct. Doesn't mean that you are not good. So you have to be very, very, very patient with anything that you are doing. Second, for anyone who is joining me, I have to be very, very confident that he's a foodie. He knows food. It's not like a business for him. It's like if he tastes something, he has to understand, okay, this food has salt jada, yeah, namak. I mean, he has to understand food. He has to talk food. Okay, that samosa at that place was good because of this. This golgappa at that place was sad because of this. So only once he understands food, he will be able to make the food that we are serving talk. So if a customer comes to him and says, okay, what's the difference between a Chatpata Affair and that store over there? He should talk. He should not be saying, okay, our samosa is from this spice and that this. I mean, that's more bookish. It's doesn't comes from inside. If you are a foodie, you can make that difference. I mean, when you are explaining your food to a customer, it speaks out. So it's very important to enjoy what you are doing. Like I mentioned, you have to be a foodie in my sector. You have to enjoy the food. I mean, you have to taste the food and understand what's good in my food and what's bad in that. If my food is bad, why is it bad, and fix it there and then. So anyone who wants to get into F&B has to understand that it's a fancy business, but it takes a lot of patience to build something. The first 6 months is very tough because you're coming from something which is very different than an F&B. You were the boss there, you were running shows, you were people reporting. Here you have to do a lot of stuff that you may not have done. So you have to be very, very patient. And like you correctly mentioned, the expectations should be very, very, very low. These two things, if you have, probably in the first 6 months, you will understand what to do right to make you a success in the field. I'm very sure the first 6 months is what it matters. It's the burnout happens in the first 6 months. I mean, the expectations and the reality doesn't match, and then the dropout, the burnout. I mean, those are things which the human brain plays around with. You, like you correctly mentioned, patience.
Shiju, one more thing you've been mentioning since the time we started talking. You don't give yourself, rather, you don't give only yourself credit. You keep saying we, you keep using the words team. Just talk to us a little bit about that. How alone is an entrepreneur? I mean, do you have a solid team around you? Do you have how much of the responsibility have you given to their shoulders? And like, are you at a stage now where you're just able to just supervise, or do you still sort of roll up the sleeves and say, no, I'm going to put in a hard day's work? How important is your team for you? I mean, if you can sort of just talk to us a little bit about that.
Like I mentioned, when we were planning Chatpata Affairs, there were a couple of people who were at the team member, shift manager, store operation level, which wanted to be part of the team that we have done. So there are people who have been with me for from day one. Now, why is a team important? Because, like you mentioned, an entrepreneur is generally alone. So if you don't want to be alone, you have to have people whom you can speak at when you are very low, when you are very high, when you are enjoying, when you are very depressed. You have to have people who will talk you through. I mean, since I started from a level which was very, very, I started from a team member level. And the reason I reached the level of a CEO was I was more interacting with a team member always. I got to know the basics of running a restaurant, from being a team member to a restaurant manager to all those things. So a team is very important, and growing a team is important. You can't just say, okay, I have 5 important people and those are the people which will run the show. Tomorrow, if I have a Ashrith who is adding a lot of value, I have to be open to add him to the team, which will obviously make the brand bigger. I keep saying we because, like I mentioned, it's not just Shiju. The Chatpata affairs will never be Shiju. It will be obviously a Shashank or a Ashrith or a Zafar, whoever adds value to the team. He will be given that leverage of doing it, because obviously I am good at say making a samosa, but there will be always a person who will be making a better gulab jamun than me. So he has to be added and given that obviously that bonus of growing that brand, or else it will be just one brand out of the 100,000 brands that we have. If you think about TCS, if you think about any other company, Tata Consultancy Service, I mean, Ratan Tata doesn't come. I'm 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 talking big, but it's a company. It's more a company built by people. It's not, yes, Ratan Tata is there, but when you think about Tanishq or Titan or any other big brands that obviously Ratan Tata owns, but it's not Ratan Tata, his side is somewhere else. These are people who have built the brand. So I always believe in people. I always believe a brand can be built only with people.
Let's take a small break. We are talking to Shiju from the Chatpata Affair. We'll take a break and we'll be right back. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to Tales of Retail, the personality edition. And we are talking to Shiju and having a Chatpata affair while we are talking to him. So welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. We'll continue our conversation with Shiju. Shiju, just talk to us about marketing, really, because it's almost like, in the last 5 years, whatever new brands that have come and got us to taste some yummy food across the country have really got it right when it comes to marketing. And, how did you go about marketing the Chatpata affair when you started off versus, how has your marketing approach changed now? If that's something that you could talk to us a little bit about.
All right. See, the best marketing obviously happens from word of mouth. If you as a customer has tasted and you like, you probably will talk about the product and the brand across your friends, your relative. That's the first approach we had. We incentivized people to talk about ourselves if they liked the product. Since it was the COVID era, we didn't do much on marketing otherwise. Now in Bangalore, we are more focused on social. We are doing a couple of stuff in Instagram, Facebook. So that's more the route that we have taken currently. We have also connected with a couple of influencers who are helping us out market our product. But we haven't invested much on marketing. We wanted to reach that 50 store level before we go high on marketing or advertising, wherein if there's a return of this investment on that spend that we are looking at happens, so it has to have some numbers. So till now it's more on Instagram and Facebook that we have invested time on. Nothing on television or newspaper or any print that we have more. It's more on social that we have invested. Yes.
Right. And also talking about chart, it's such an impulsive buy. Generally, it's marketing efforts for something that is like an impulsive purchase is always harder than marketing something that is an essential.
Yes.
And while tastes are subjective, really it's about getting that awareness across to a customer who would come and buy once to try it and then becomes your loyal customer. To capture that first customer in an impulsive category is very hard. And any particular challenges that are unique to this that you can possibly talk about, that any marketing campaigns that you did which are unique, that which you think caught your customers' eye? If you can talk a little bit about that.
No, Bob, since see, we have grown from whatever we have earned. I mean, we have a strong EBITDA of bottom line. So whatever we have opened till now, probably we have reinvested from the profit that we have made. So we haven't invested too much on any marketing campaign till now. Now, for like you correctly mentioned, it's an impulsive buy. So the first step is to make the store so inviting that the person stops for a second and have a look on the store of what they are doing. So once a customer stops for a fraction of second, the second step is to make the team member aware that this guy is looking at your store and it's your job now to bring him in. So once he brings him in, it's the next step is to try and taste some product, be it free of cost, be it giving him the right education of what our products are. So it's a complete flow that we follow from good, beautiful, inviting stores to taking a call on how to make the customer try the first product. Once he has tried our product, we are very confident that he will be a loyal customer of ours for, whatever time you can define it. So we have had our, good part of success in wherever we have opened till now in Bangalore. The customer feedbacks have been outstanding. The brand recall is slowly building up. Wherever we have a good loyal base, which gives us that definite sale every day. So yes, challenge. I mean, I haven't seen any challenge as such. It's more an opportunity to be in the category of impulse food, wherein a person doesn't have to plan to come to eat. I mean, we start by offering a tea, and we grow, and we make the customer try out whatever range of food that we have. So a customer can come in to buy a tea, but he often ends up buying something more which has a better value. So that's how it is.
So mall goers have to watch out, because once you walk past your store, I guess there's no telling.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it stays in your mind.
Right.
I mean, it probably keeps sneakily you to come back to that
Right.
store to understand what they are doing differently, to get this crowd in that area and talk about it. Yes, that's one way of doing it right.
Right. Shiju, want to get your opinions about the industry as such. We've spoken about you as an entrepreneur, your team. We have spoken about the Chatpata Affair. We have spoken about what its growth is like, and what what you look towards positively and negatively in 2023. What I want to understand is the external market that you're in, like the challenges of the industry. We've seen, like during COVID, or rather when the first wave and the second wave was just hitting, we got so many updates about a lot of F&B outlets shutting down, a lot of negative impact on profits, on revenues, a lot of hygiene issues as well. So a lot of people, a lot of store owners went under, and the industry saw really a very tough time during COVID. One of the worst hit industries, if not the worst.
Yes.
I think the travel and tourism people will complain if I call it the worst hit, but still, it was one of the worst hit industries. And I guess people like you saw a diamond in the rough, they say, where when others saw fear, you saw an opportunity, which is what makes you an entrepreneur. But, can you just talk a little bit about the industry challenges, about QSR generally, and about food? Is hygiene still an issue 1.5 years after COVID? What else? What are some of the challenges that that you see from the industry this year and perhaps going ahead in the future?
So, if I have to say, the customer as of now is well educated. I mean, a customer who walks into your shop knows what is an additive, how hygienic are you? Are you wearing gloves? Are you wearing mask? What's your cleaning schedule? How clean is your kitchen? Now, these types of things were not visible pre-COVID. There are a lot of people who had done a lot of shortcuts, which created a lot of bad name for the industries. All those things are more or less filtered out. So I'll say yes, the industry has taken a lot of it. Probably a lot of people, they drained out the entire saving that they had during this period. But it has also done a lot of good things. People who were in the business to make quick buck they probably went into different other sectors rather than running a shop of burger or a pizza. So now I'll believe people who are still running the F&B business are people who are serious, who are not just here to make money, but to make a relationship with their customer, make a brand out of what they are doing currently. Are not looking at it from a short time venture. Probably they are looking at it in a longer horizon and want to do it correct. I mean, don't want to put in some shortcut in place which can give them good benefit for a shorter period of time, but obviously will kill them in the longer period. So hygiene, like you correctly mentioned, is something that that a customer is well aware of now. He's well aware of a lot of factors that he was not concerned much in the pre-COVID era. For us, it's better because we portray ourselves as a hygienic option to a roadside vendor who was doing very good business pre-COVID. Now he is also wearing gloves and bringing in, saying, okay, our water is from mineral water and all that stuff. So it's a good sign for the industry. It's something that will make the industry stronger and will bring in people who are more serious about the business, not just a person who just want to do it, but a person who is more interested in doing something good. So I'll say COVID has done, yes, it has done bad for people also, but it has also done very good for the industry.
Right, right. And you mentioned COVID changing people's preferences,
yeah.
Customer preferences.
Yes.
One major thing that has changed after COVID is the sort of the re-importance of your Swiggies and your Zomatos of the world. It has forced especially lazy customers like me to stay at home and not get out and sort of order whatever I want at home now, which is a boon for me, but I'm guessing is not much a boon for entrepreneurs who are in the food business, and everybody seems to tackle this. How do you tackle this? How do you think it's a short-term consumer preference, or do you think it's a long-term preference, and do you think entrepreneurs have to shape their offerings towards this, or do you think it's a phase? How do you look at this whole thing about people sitting at home and ordering whatever they want and not willing to step out?
No, obviously it's going to stay. It's something that's going to be in our lifestyle, wherein a couple which is working will probably come to their home lazy enough to go out, will order. They will probably not venture out. But when you were mentioning, I missed out a point wherein you said, okay, there are people who wants the restaurant to come to them rather than the restaurant, them walking to the restaurant. But that's one thing that we did when the COVID was a little easy. We created a food truck. We took the entire restaurant to colonies, to places like offices and all. So that gave us a lot of brand value at that point of time. We did that. We'll probably start doing that in Bangalore also soon. That's one marketing thing that we did in Gurgaon, which helped us a lot. For kitty parties, birthday parties, for colony occasions, all those things, something being made in front of you gave the customers the confidence in the brand. Okay, if they are doing it like this, they will probably be doing it the same at their kitchen also. So that one thing that we did to make our brand stronger.
Right.
The Swiggy and Zomatos, obviously they will stay for long. Probably the good old time wherein the restaurants had their own delivery time will take delivery team members will take some time. In 1997, probably the pie of delivery that we had was not more than 5% of the entire sales, which over a period of time, now if you look at Pizza Hut, any store does close to 70% in delivery. So that has shown the preferences of a customer going from a dine-in. But we as Indians will always be more emotionally connected to each other. So we'll have to have those places to celebrate our occasions. We'll obviously have dates to celebrate. All those things will never be a person like who sits. I mean, there are people who say, okay, India will be like China as far as the food and beverage industry is concerned, wherein a Chinese home doesn't have a kitchen at all. But that probably will take miles. I mean, it will take a lot of time to be like the China and all. Swiggy Zomato will stay, but we'll have our time to celebrate, wherein we'll definitely go to a Pizza Hut or a Domino's or a Haldiram, walk in with our families, have our get-togethers. So Swiggy Zomato, yes, but both the other traditional outlets, yes, they will do good.
Right. Okay. And so talking, you mentioned so you mentioned Pizza Hut, you mentioned McDonald's, you mentioned perhaps KFC, and most of like for Indians, for us when we look at a chain, we automatically, I think, imagine a multinational or a global chain, like a McDonald's, like a Pizza Hut, or a perhaps one of the first Indian chains that as Bangaloreans we saw was Cafe Coffee Day, so it was like back in the school days, you could find Cafe Coffee Days coming up, and like most of us chose to go to Cafe Coffee Day to have our celebrations, and
yeah, it was an occasion going there.
An occasion, yes, absolutely. But again, Cafe Coffee Day introduced us to some non-Indian dishes like a cappuccino, perhaps, or a, or like a donut or a croissant or something like that. Which brings me to my question, actually. You are a national chain, and you are selling Indian food. You are selling what we all love to have in the evenings, be it a South Indian, North, East, West, no matter who, at some point would like to have a bite of a bhel puri or like a golgappa or something. And so is that a secret to an Indian chain? Like, do Indian chains need to look at Indian food? Or how do you view Indian chains coming up and perhaps even competing at a global level, let's get into that a little later, but what are your thoughts of an Indian chain growing rapidly and perhaps competing with a multinational chain in India, in our landscape? What are your thoughts about that?
So, see, if you look at the history of Indian street food, it's been 300, 400, 500 years that in literature, Golgappa, as I've mentioned, but I'm sure it's been beyond, I mean, it's close to 1,000 years. If you look at pizza, burger, it's not more than 50 years that it has been in existence. McDonald's started 1950, Pizza Hut around that time. So, I'm sorry. So the lifespan of a street food in India is beyond, and I mean, it's been there for long. It's been the star, but it's never been given that stage to perform like a star. We as kids, or when we were very small, like you mentioned, going to Cafe Coffee Day was like, okay, wow, good. We will try something which was very new to me. When I joined Pizza Hut, I came from a very small town to a place. I'm born and brought up in a very small place in Rajasthan. So I was not aware what pizza was. So when I went into a Pizza Hut for training and all, it was very, I mean, it was something of a big thing for me. So for an Indian setup, I'll say the minute you move from a Delhi to a Bangalore to a Calcutta, the Golgappa from Golgappa changes to Pani Puri to a Puchka. The name changes, but it remains the same. So imagine a product in India has been renamed n number of times, but it's been served like the same. So the opportunity is so big. Like I mentioned, Haldiram has displaced PepsiCo. PepsiCo is a global giant. Haldiram is more Indian, and it's growing. So if Haldiram is doing 35,000 crore business, if I as a small entrepreneur can even take 0.01% of that business in the next 1 year, I'll be like big this thing. And we are serving vegetarian, we are serving organic stuff, we are serving, we are more bridging that gap between a roadside vendor and a Haldiram or a Bikaner wala. There's nothing in between which gives you that taste and feel, and that authenticity and hygiene and everything. So we are more trying to bridge and serve you the same thing that you probably can have it in Haldiram, and you have the same taste that a roadside vendor can give. So the opportunity is big. I will not say you have to add on a lot of stuff from the Western market, like a burger or anything. I mean, you can obviously have the Indian version, which is a vada pav. So there are a lot of things in India that you can add on. We have added khandvi. We have not even touched Calcutta as far as the street food is concerned. So to keep adding in, it's a big market. You don't have to touch any pizza or burger of the world. Yeah.
Do you think investors and venture capitalists agree to this point? Because if we look at the last couple of years, a lot of money has come into food. A lot of money has come into structured food rather than fragmented. And people like yourself are bringing a lot of structure into an otherwise fragmented category, we could call it. Like you mentioned that, every other street you will find somebody selling some form of chaat or the other, but you the kind of structure and the streamline, like the kind of the way you have done. Is that something that does that thought echo with the with investors in the country as well? You think so investment is being pumped into some food chains, Indian food chains? What do you think the funding scope will be for food in India this year and going ahead?
I think it's positive to see a lot of people getting funding. I mean, be it from the street food, be it from any sector, there are a lot of people getting a lot of investment. That's more to see, that more to understand. Okay, you are organizing a sector, and how big a sector is in the next 5 years for a government to get some benefit, for you as an investor to get benefit. All that put together, what is the future of that category in the market that you are in, defines, okay, the investors' interest. I believe F&B will always be very positive if you do it right, and a lot of investors will always be interested. But coming into F&B, you also have to be very, very patient to reach that level of good ROI in a bigger this thing. But a lot of Swiggy, Zomatos have shown us how a tech food can grow from something like a scratch or to what they are today. I mean, it can be anything. It can be a rebel food. It can be a fresh menu. They have grown from scratch in the last 10 years to what they are today. So big opportunity. Yes, the investment will come if your format and model is right, but you have to be patient.
Great, thank you. Pearls of wisdom for F&B entrepreneurs. Thank you very much, Shiju.
Appreciate it, Ashrith.
You've taken some time off, and you have, like I said, given us some pearls of wisdom. We, all our listeners, there's a batch of quick questions. Mostly our listeners are looking forward to knowing something a little more personal about the entrepreneur. So I'm going to ask you some sort of quick fire questions. How long is your work day, Shiju? How many hours a day do you work, or are you one of those people who thinks about work all the time, even if you're not in office?
No, but I'm generally in a restaurant that is very newly opened. That's where majority of my time is. That's where the customer gets to know what Chatpata Affair is. That's where the team member understand, okay, he is not alone. He is with people who takes care of them. So it's both internal and or external customers that I interact with. So if I have a new store, I probably spend maximum of my time there. The back end, the team training is all taken care. So I generally work, probably I work for 12 hours, 13 hours a day, yes.
12 hours a day. Okay. Who in your team motivates you?
Everyone. I mean, I am very much motivated with a team member who calls the customer in. Hi, sir. So that motivates me. That makes me smile. I mean, wow, he's a guy who's following everything that I've taught him. So that team member motivates me a lot.
Okay. What is the one thing that's most important to you when you look at hiring a new team member?
His passion. I mean,
Passion for food,
the
right?
basics. Yeah, the passion to do the positive attitude, the smile on his face. Yeah, all those things. Anything
I
else
think
can be
this,
taught. Yeah.
I think the smile spreads like wildfire when the founder is smiling all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you define personal success? We understood how you define your professional success. You want to open more stores, you want to be in more cities, you want to grow, and looks like your roadmap is very clear for growth professionally. But how do you define personal success? Has being an entrepreneur affected your personal life? Just for tips for our younger entrepreneurs,
See, personal, like I mentioned, a team member smiling and greeting a customer makes your day. There are small moments that makes my day. I mean, it can be a customer talking about you're going up in front of you, not understanding, okay, this is the guy who created this brand and stuff like, there are a lot of small events that happens in your day that makes your day. Personal life, yes. I mean, you have to compromise on a couple of things. I've been staying in Bangalore for the last 8 months. My family is in Gurgaon, but I have to be here because this is a very interesting market, and for every internal and external customer to have faith in me, I have to be on the floor making that thing happen. So yes, over a period of time, you understand, okay, compromises are there, but yes, it's fun to be around. It's fun to be creating something. It's fun to be leaving something behind. Not a legacy, yes, but some brand that you have created gives you that satisfaction. Yes.
And lastly, I see in interacting with entrepreneurs, one thing I have understood is that there's something or the other that motivates them, either be it a book or be it some movie they have seen, some film they have seen in their childhood, some series, perhaps. So, what about you? What is that thing? Do you have a favorite book? Do you have a favorite business book? Do you have a favorite author? What do you like to read or watch? Most of our viewers and listeners want to know this the most, actually.
No, I don't read books. I'm not a book guy at all. Whenever I have time, I yes, definitely watch movies, which helps me rewind.
Right.
But I don't read books. People there are a lot of people who motivates me. In cricket, MS Dhoni motivates me.
Okay.
If you look at an actor, Shah Rukh Khan motivates me. From the entrepreneurial thing, Dipinder motivates me.
Right.
A lot of, it's different field, different people. It's not just success. It's the way they have carried themselves. It's the way they talk. It's the witty thing that they do. A lot of things, yes, motivates.
Right. And lastly, if I were to get a plate of chaat from the Chatpata Affair outside India, is that going to be possible this year or next year? Is that penciled into your vision?
Yes. So one of my close friends, friend is opening in Dubai this quarter, and he has joined. Hence, we are also opening in UK the third quarter of this year.
Okay.
So the entire back end is done. Probably we are just scouting for good locations. Once we have done with Dubai, we'll move to UK. That's the plan. Yes.
Fantastic. We wish you all the very best. Thank you
so
much for joining us.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us. Again, all the listeners of AIRG, this was Shiju talking to us about the Chatpata Affair. He's got a lot of Chatpata activity coming up this year. Do look out for the Chatpata Affair on Google. Go visit a store. They are in 4 cities right now, but they're going to be across the country and available internationally very soon. Go look up, like them, give your feedback on Google. Come back to us about feedback, and we'll be very happy to take it to Shiju personally. Shiju, once again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
This is a personality series of the Tales of Retail podcast. It's brought to you by All India Retail Group, India's largest retail organization. My name is Ashrith Rao. Thank you very much for listening. Stay tuned.